Okay, let's look at this bottom problem down here. We got the integral from 1 to infinity, where there's the improper part, times x e to the negative x. Now, the one thing that's going to give us a little bit of pause is this setup right here is looking like a integration by parts situation. Okay, so let's go ahead and identify what our limit for this is going to be. It's going to be the limit as a approaches infinity of the integral from 1 to a of, let's see, x e to the negative x dx. All right, so this is the problem that we've got to work with. Now, think about something we could take the derivative of, and it doesn't, and it cleans up, and that would be x. So we would let u equal x. So du equals dx. And something that we can integrate that doesn't get too nasty. So if we let dv equals e to the x, then v equals e to the x. Because when you integrate e to the x, it doesn't change. But this is a negative e to the x, which is going to make this a negative, let me move this guy over just a little bit, negative e to the x here. Okay, so if I take the derivative of this guy, I get this guy. If I take the derivative of this guy, I get this guy. And so remember integration by parts. If I have the integral of u dv, then when I do integration by parts, I get u times v minus the integral of v du. Okay? So when I look at this then, back over here to my problem, I'm going to have the limit as a approaches infinity of the integral from 1 to a. Well, that's this situation right here. U times v. So that's going to be x e to the x negative x e to the negative x minus the integral of v du. That's this part, negative e to the x dx. Okay, and we can clean this up a little bit because that's going to be a positive. Gee whiz, this is a negative here still, and this is a negative here. All right, so this cleans up one more time because I can integrate this guy. The negative comes out in front of the integral because a constant can always do that. So that's going to give me then the limit as a approaches infinity of negative e or negative x e to the negative x plus, and then if I just integrate just e to the negative x, that's this whole part right here. Okay, so when I integrate that, it's going to end up giving me plus negative, I keep wanting to forget that negative, plus negative e to the negative x. Now, we want to evaluate this from 1 to a. All right? And whatever that turns out to be as we approach infinity, that's going to be the answer to this particular problem. So now I just need to do stop minus start. I'm going to do that right up above here. So let's get a color. So if I do stop minus start, everywhere I see x, I put an a in. I'm going to go ahead and make this a minus. So there's the first part, negative a e to the negative a minus e to the negative a plus, and then 1's everywhere else. So negative 1 e to the negative 1 plus e to the negative 1. So there's our two situations right there. Okay. When I look at the limit then as a goes to infinity, what I end up with then is, if we rewrite these with positive exponents, so it'll be a little easier to see. That would be negative 1 over e plus 1 over e. So stop minus start. Whoop, I forgot a minus sign here. stop minus start. So that would be stop minus start. And I think this guy should be -2. I have got to get these sign straight. Yikes. All right, so here we go. So what happens is, as we look at this limit then, as a goes to infinity, what happens is these two guys right here, this one and this one, become 0. The reason they become 0 is on the bottom, you get a large number, and on the top, you get a number that's not so big, okay? So this guy goes to 0. This guy also goes to 0, which just leaves us with these two constants over here. So what I end up with is 1 over e plus 1 over e, which is equal to 2 over e. That's my whole limit. So this question looks kind of, again, a tough sort of situation, but once you just take one step at a time, if we can remember our parts rule, then this is actually not too terribly difficult. But it does require you to pay attention to what's going on. Kind of like I did. I had to go back through and find some mistakes as I went, but they weren't big ones. They're just little minus sign spots. And when you get all that cleaned up, you got a problem you can work with.